Just for a time, I'd like to, Kevin Considine, if you can come up. And so, Lake County Partners, I serve on the Lake County Partners Board, and they've been moving forward with an initiative for a couple years now. And again, Dr. Haney and I have been working with them on developing that relationship. We also work together to look and explore manufacturers together. And now the Lake County Partners is taking the lead, and Kevin's going to explain that to you and answer any questions. And then Eric Kurtz from our own staff is going to talk just a little bit about how we're meshing together with their effort. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Robert. So the workforce ecosystem that we'll explain here really grew out of a strategic planning process that we completed in 2013. And a couple things out of that process really identified initially in what industries we ought to focus as we want to grow the Lake County economy. You see that list up there. None of them are going to be surprises to you. Obviously, biopharma is sort of a core part of our DNA here. Precision manufacturing, Lake County is actually one of the largest manufacturing counties in the country. And then if you think about a big sector of that is medical devices, again, makes sense. Also a lot of automotive, aerospace, et cetera. Healthcare, as we just discussed, is really in everybody's plan. Professional and technical services is a bit of a catch-all, but that ranges everything from marketing services to printing, packaging, customized packaging, which we have a lot of here, to staffing services and contract engineering and everywhere in between. Arts and culture, that fifth, it's not necessarily an outreach target of ours, but it's an important lifestyle element that the county naturally wants to build because we want this to be a fun place to live and work. So our goals in this program that we're describing is we wanted to understand what companies in these sectors, and also we looked at small to medium-sized businesses, hence the employee size between 15 and 350. What were their needs and challenges to growth, and how could we potentially address them? So we started face-to-face meetings with senior executives in those companies, and over the last 15 months we've met with, actually as of today, it's 130 meetings. We heavied up in manufacturing for two reasons. One, it was an area where we saw an important need. And two, as Comptroller Munger alluded to, those were also the companies that were getting picked off by Wisconsin to move north. So we wanted to try and stop that bleeding as much as we could. And from those meetings, as we sought to what are those needs and challenges, one thing became abundantly clear, and that the primary challenge was about talent. It was about finding, retaining, and developing qualified talent. And a couple stats coming out of those meetings. Important to note that this is not a statistically valid sample. These are anecdotes coming from 130 interviews. So about half the companies reported that some kind of expansion was possible. That was a mixture of, we're busting at the seams and we need to expand today, or, hey, you know what, if this product takes off, we might have to, et cetera, et cetera. Importantly, 63% reported some kind of recruiting challenge, and we'll come back to that. And nearly 40% said there's some sort of training need. When we look at that recruiting challenge, it fell pretty clearly into a couple of buckets. Again, remember, we heavied up in manufacturing. So clearly the number one need was skilled production employees. Think about machinists, welders, maintenance technicians are extremely hard to find. The second comment heard pretty consistently was that reliable, low-skilled production employees were hard to find. The third is really a function of sort of our corporate population here, but that young professionals living in the city can be difficult to recruit here to Lake County. Fourth is a need for engineers really of all stripes, engineer, mechanical, electrical, chemical, et cetera, industrial. And of course, IT professionals, again, that is, sort of all stripes. It's a wide band there. So from this need, we sought to, okay, what can we do to address them? It's sort of the obvious question. And that then begat the partnership with the Workforce Development Department and with the college to how can we assemble solutions to some of these needs. And so we were able to make from those 130 meetings, I think we're up to 68, nearly 70 connections at this point, which is a mixture of, if that's coming back with the Workforce Development Department to assemble a solution, increasingly actually It means multiple people assembling a solution. So a couple of quick stories as examples. Amcor is a medical device packaging company in Mundelein. Now privately held, at one point was a unit of Baxter back in the day, and they needed maintenance technicians. And a maintenance technician, they feel that they can train somebody to operate a machine, but when that machine breaks, finding somebody who can fix it, that is a difficult skill to find. And that's the role of a maintenance technician. And from our manufacturing conversations, that is the single most difficult position to fill. And so we brought them out here to the college and introduced them to the Mechatronics program, along with the workforce development department. So the college and workforce development were able to combine graduates from the Mechatronics program along with on-the-job training grants from workforce development, which will allow Amcor to hire 2 new positions this summer that weren't in the budget, as well as they've been able to sort of rake together enough to do some internship programs as well. And one of the challenges also in this manufacturing program is many companies are identifying a retirement balloon coming in some of their production departments that they need to build this pipeline for now. Another great story was Little Lady Foods. They are in Gurnee. Actually, they have plants in both Elk Grove Village and Gurnee, and they are a private label manufacturer of frozen pizza. You have probably had their products under some larger brand names. And one of their 2 plants was going to get a $10 million modernization, and the other one was going to become the secondary plant. It was hard for them to get apples to apples. One plant was going to be easier, but the other one was going to be less expensive. It ultimately came down to workforce. So we again brought them out to the college, introduced them to the Mechatronics program and the folks there, and workforce development, and again, able to put together that combined solution to help them build the pipeline of talent that they were going to need in order for this expansion, and thus Gurnee won, and the project started, will start March 1st. So 2 examples, and there are many more, of how these combined efforts can bring solutions to the businesses in the county. So we actually said, okay, so from this sort of pilot test of the first year, it seems to work, so where do we go from here? We want to scale this up. Scaling up means a couple things. First, we want to get sort of the key nodes in this network onto one business relationship management platform. So that's the WPDI, the Workforce Development Department, the manufacturing group here at the college, as well as the career placement group, onto one central system. That will allow us to do information sharing. It'll make it easier to manage these sort of cross-border projects. It will give us an opportunity also to get some metrics and measurement cross-border that we can't do today. We're also going to raise the ceiling on our target set up to companies with up to 1,000 employees. I feel it sort of makes more sense and based on the solution set that we can deliver. Some of the larger corporate, the Abbotts and AbbVies and Baxters of the world probably don't need our services as much, our Lake County Partners services as much as some of the smaller companies do. Obviously, we want to continue this outreach, and we're going to add some capacity to the system slowly and in a measured way, but that's adding some people at Lake County Partners on this side, some project coordinators to assure that the follow-up happens, works in the right way, and that we're getting the intelligence back that we're learning in the field, and that's getting back to all the groups that need to hear it. So that's the quick tour through the workforce ecosystem. Actually, now I'd like to introduce Eric Kurtz from the, oh, yes, certainly.
In one of your slides, you mentioned low-skilled production workers. Can you give us a couple of examples of what that position is?
Sure. Those might be material handlers. It might be somebody who takes something off a production line over here and puts it in a box over here.
So it would be a position that would not require any type of education beyond high school?
No, high school degree. And the wage then is corresponding with that as well. They tend to be in the, somewhere between $9 and $12 range as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. So Eric Kurtz, the director of the Workforce Development, and Professional Development Institute.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. Good evening. So I have the pleasure of representing the college many times with the workforce ecosystem through the Workforce and Professional Development Institute here at the college. I want to talk about some of the ways that we engage and support this ecosystem. Information gathering is top on the list. In my area, we're out in the field daily talking to companies organizations of all shapes and sizes, from new businesses or entrepreneurs who want to form businesses to large organizations such as the AbbVies, Baxters, and so forth, talking about what their needs are. Part of our time in the field is spent collecting data on the Lake County workforce, as well as collecting data on the skill needs and trends of industries as well as of companies. We feed that data back to Lake County partners as well as to the Workforce Development Department. We also collect information on companies that are either in growth mode or are downsizing. Again, feeding that back into the ecosystem so we can look for more space or support individuals that might be displaced from their jobs through the Workforce Development Department. We also collect labor market data in support of CLC's research systems, feeding that back where appropriate into our IEPR and or career advisory committees or other departments at the college. Another place where we engage in the workforce ecosystem is through our workforce skill development. One of our strong suits is talking to companies and evaluating skill gaps, evaluating across the Lake County area of what skills in general are there gaps in, and working with the Workforce Development Department to see how we can fill those gaps. We also create some of the solutions we bring about to address those specific needs are through contract training that we bring out to companies, as well as open enrollment, non-credit programs, of which there are numerous solutions that we make available. We also look at developing training solutions that meet the needs of unemployed or displaced workers. One of the areas that we are looking at is information technology, to see what we can do in a short amount of time to retrain individuals that are either in the IT world or are not but want to enter and are looking for livable wage jobs. So that's one of our current projects. One of our strong suits is also just being nimble in evaluating market needs and developing corporate training solutions. That in turn is something we can feed back to the rest of the organization and incubate some of those programs that might lead elsewhere into the college and to academic programs. We also engage in the workforce ecosystem by supporting entrepreneurs. We do that through our Illinois Small Business Development Center to help new businesses get started, to help small businesses grow, to look at other opportunities, whether it be international trade opportunities through our International Trade Center, or to look at opportunities. We have a grant with Illinois Tollway for small, disadvantaged, and veteran-owned businesses. So we look for those opportunities to support them as well. And then, of course, we also work with the incubators in Lake County to see how we can support them through the Small Business Development Center also.
So the point of this is that before, a couple of years ago, you had the Lake County partners reaching out. We've always been reaching out for years and years here. Then we do our career programs over
Right.
here. The WIB was doing their thing. So now they've all been brought together. Kevin may go into a company and he'll tell them what the WIB can do for him. He'll tell them what Lake County partners can do for them. Where he might say, you need CLC, and he might say you need Eric's branch, or you need to go into the career program here, like he mentioned in Mechatronics. So that's the kind of partnership. And Rich and I have been working again with WPDI and putting all this stuff together. So we're looking at how we can keep this partnership going. So we'll be more on it. Any questions for these folks? I know it's a lot of reporting.
Could I ask?
Sure, go ahead.
Kevin, you mentioned Mechatronics and a couple students that went into this company. How did they perform?
So those are targeted for this coming summer.
Do we have any placements that we know how they are performing?
You know what? I don't, but I believe we do. I believe that the college does.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they're actually doing very well. In fact, we had a mechatronics program we invested in heavily over the last 3 or 4 years, primarily through grant funding that we received. And I don't have the specific numbers, but I'll get them. But we had one of our cohorts, one of our recent cohorts, and I'm going to throw out a number of like 17 or 18 students, and all but one got employment as soon as the cohort ended.
And I think what you're going to see, if we build this partnership stronger, is they're going to have jobs. The instructor's going to have to try to keep them in the course, because they're going to start getting job offers before they get out of the
No,
course.
actually, so that we had the head of Little Lady Foods here for the introduction, and we were really targeting again. They wouldn't need these people till this coming summer, but he actually stopped the presentation. Wait a second, this was in late November. You mean you've got people graduating from this program now? how soon can I start interviewing? Can I meet anybody today?
Wow,
So,
Yeah.
high demand.
that is fantastic.